I want everyone to have that trust in me that I know what I'm doing. And I know that there's a lot of fat here, and I love everyone's jokes, but we do need to also remember there's a story here. And finding that balance is really entertaining to me. And it's something that it's one of those things that I could work on and be like, oh shit, it's 4 a.m. I thought it was noon. And
Jesus,
it's
what a time.
You know what I mean, though? Like,
well, it's because he woke up early. That's what it actually is.
Yeah.
What's up, everyone? Welcome to Nerd On, the podcast you didn't need, but you deserve. We're all levels of nerds. Our showrunning, directing, and post-production audio mixing.
Yes.
Right? All of you nerds do that.
Yes.
We are nothing special. You guys matter.
I liked it better when we were talking about Tekken.
I like how we just totally went away from our catchphrase.
Yeah.
The past few episodes have just been like, what's our catchphrase?
Can I be really honest? I directly lifted mine from David Pumpkins.
Okay.
Because he goes, ready or not, here we dance. And I thought it was the funniest thing in the world, and I've done it on, I think, most episodes I've opened. So
maybe.
Tom, what series are we doing today?
Well, I was just going to say a little bit. Most quote-unquote popular podcast openers always fumble like this, apparently. We are back to discuss and open up our experiences with the aspects of the film and storytelling industry in our Nerds Explained series. Today, we are focusing on our very own Corey Powers with his ups and his downs, his biggest learns, and even the smallest takeaways of showrunning and how a web series like PA's can be your film school.
And fun fact, we didn't tell him this was happening, so ta-da! Just kidding.
God, I'm so unprepared.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
But let's not get too far into it before we introduce the hosts. My name is Tom.
I'm Corey.
And I am Josh, and this episode is brought to you in part by the members of the Nerd On Nation. That is powered by Patreon. As a member of the Nerd On Nation, you do get fun perks, like you get bonus episodes that nobody else hears. You get, to be really, really clear, those are boner episodes.
Thank you.
They are special. We usually make up the topic that we're just going to talk about 5 minutes before, so it's super fresh and super off the cuff. There's no prep at all. They're a lot of fun. And sometimes we ask you, the audience, for topic ideas.
That's right.
So check it out. We also get, you get early access to these episodes. You get
early access and discounts on merch.
Exactly. Like the coat, the bomber jacket.
That's no longer in store.
Or this hat. That is not my Nerd On hat that I forgot I wasn't wearing.
Wow.
But they are cool. They are comfortable. You can wear
it in
them.
the car, actually.
We actually have the company that makes our merch actually does a great job of it. And
if you're worried about embroidery, their embroidery is on fleek.
Yeah.
To what the kids say these days.
Yeah, on fleek.
I wish they could embroider it onto my skin.
Yeah. So check out the Nerd On Nation.
It's called a tattoo.
True.
No, I want.
You want thread?
I want Dante's Inferno.
Got you. Yeah.
So check out the Nerd On Nation and consider joining it because it does allow us to grow. It allows us to be the best that we can be and just to do this more. We like doing this and we want to do this more and more often and a lot.
And also, if we get very successful with it, we get to do more personal stuff because I know you guys really like that stuff.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird how much they like our personal stuff. We could talk about they recut Endgame and then they'd be like, I don't give a shit. And they're like, I want to hear about what's going on in Corey and Josh's life.
I rolled my ankle yesterday. Give us more.
Give us more. So check that out.
Give me more.
nerdon.tv/Patreon. And also check out the Discord, nerdon.tv/Discord. A lot of great people over there. Great community to be a part of. And there's a channel for everything under the sun. Even there is a sun channel. No, I'm just kidding. There isn't a sun channel, but there should be. I mean, gardening could be kind of a sun channel.
Is it garden porn?
It's called garden porn.
That's right.
Yeah, and things are posted
I should
there.
post my lawn that I ripped up.
You should.
That'd be a good one.
You should.
Yeah, I will.
So check out that, and a huge shout out to Apogee, Odyssey, and
Embody Audio. Embody Audio.
Check them out. They're a wonderful company. Support wonderful companies.
They make cool stuff.
Cool things and stuff.
You want surround sound without surround sound headphones? Check them out.
Yeah. But let's get in. That is the housekeeping.
Yes.
That is it. There isn't any more.
So let's run this show.
Let's
get into this.
Let's get into this power full episode.
Because my last name Powers.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
There's a
I
lot
love
of
it.
power in
Yeah,
this
yeah, yeah.
episode, so let's
I actually
do it.
named my production company Powers of Production.
Yeah, I dig it.
'cause I had to.
Yeah. So let's start it like really, I don't know, basic question.
Yeah.
Show running a web
Yeah.
series. The term show running gets thrown about a lot, even in pop culture news. It's like, oh, they're the showrunner. So let's get some sense of demystification. What does it really mean to
To showrun a
like,
show?
What do you do?
So, completely honest, like the thing I loved about Storyboard is that we've all learned how to do things through doing them. And usually Tom tells us the name of the thing we're doing. So we had a big meeting one day and we were talking about how, we want this to function. What roles are we going to pick up? What are our aspirations of what we want to do with this series? And I kind of laid mine out there and Tom went, so you want to show run? And I was like, what is this? What is this show run thing? It's going to function differently for a web series than on a TV series. I'm sure Tom could even give more insight on how a showrunner runs a TV series. But at least for PAs, what it means for me specifically is that I get to be kind of the guy who's got a scent on every single thing that's going on. I'm checking in with people. I'm trying to work with either when we're in the writing room or in the post-production or even on set, trying to almost negotiate everything and make sure we're coming up with timelines, timetables, and relying heavily on Tom for any question I don't have an answer to. But with something like PAs, I'm essentially the guy that people come to. This is going to sound so shitty. People come to questions with questions to be answered. And
That more often than not, you're probably going to have the answer to.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you will find the answer.
With PA specifically, it's something I created with Kevin at the fruit stand at the Apple Store one day, just riffing on a bit. And so as the show evolved, I kind of love-hate relationship with some of the democratic system that went on within our group. And so we had that meeting one day and I was like, I just want to be the guy who, when everything is chewed and digested and gets to me, I can go yes or no. Because I felt like I had a really good grip on what we were trying to do with the story, and had seen some of the shortcomings that came with a more,
decentralized
system of creation. So in a very dull sense of the word, I answer questions and make decisions.
I think there is something for people to hear of, like, there's different types of show running for sure. There's like the writing, there's like the directing, and then there's like the producing kind. When Corey's very generous and kind to say that he has to ask me questions, I tend to serve more of like a producing kind of role. You're not going to see me kind of input any type of creativity in that sense. It's much more of like, well, how do I get the creatives to do what they want to do?
Mm-hmm.
And then Corey kind of very much like leads the troupe in the way of like, well, this is the vision and this is the direction we want to go, or at least I want to, or he wants to go. I'm paraphrasing for him.
Yeah.
I want to go in, and then everyone kind of like puts in their ideas. Again, that's where they all start chewing and digesting it, and then get to the point of like, okay, well, can we do this? Can we do that? And then Corey's like, does it fit? And is it paramount to the story that he wants? And he wants all of them to be saying. And then for me, it's a lot more of like, okay, well, we need to do this, we need to do that in order for this all this stuff to happen.
And your job isn't as it's not just like episode / sketch by sketch. It's also kind of the grand vision of
I get to
company as a whole.
I get to take part in every part of the process, which I really enjoy, especially for some like Storyboard and PAs, where we found that like someone being in this role who has a fundamental understanding of the series, especially, can help with a not continuity is not the right word, but like a cohesive overarch of the entire thing. And we learned a lot in season 1, and we've since written season 2. And due to the pandemic, obviously, have had a hard time getting that shot and worked on. But it also allows me to, being in the showrunner. I don't know why I finger quoted that. The showrunner.
Imposter Syndrome.
Yeah, right. That's exactly what
I was going to say.
The showrunner position of something like PAs is that I also get all the tools to continue to work on them So like I have all the scripts and all that stuff, and it was really nice over the pandemic to just be able to sit down and rewrite every single episode we have, cut any fat I could do. But yeah, it's I like being a part of every step of the process, from the creation to the idea to putting it up online.
Yeah. I mean, I just want to point light at something, and what I love about you and hate about you is that when we started this series, Nerds Explain, it was understood that the three of us would be the first ones that we record. And we've already recorded 2 that haven't come out yet. And this just kept getting pushed off and pushed off.
It did.
And I'm pretty sure it was his fault.
Mine? Oh yeah, 100%.
We don't have to do
That's
this
the
episode
Impostor
today,
Syndrome,
right?
where I was like, I don't. What do I talk about? I just make fucking poop jokes about PAs.
Let's.
Well, I wanted to draw focus to something that he said real quick, because the importance of show running, because you've said a phrase that I think is important to point out, is that like understood the show as a whole, or you said a phrase, and I'm sorry, I'm not.
No, that's okay.
But
I don't remember what I said.
And I think that it's been even put to light in recent years of showrunners that don't know, and how important it is to have a understanding fundamentally of what the vision is, what it is, and how important that is for a show and all that kind of stuff.
Because I mean the people who watch it will be the first to tell you when you aren't being 100% true to that story, because they're the ones who watch it day in and day out, and the thing with creating is you make it and you move on to the next season, or you move on to the next episode. But the moment you stop paying attention to the integral part of the story, or really caring deeply about what story you're trying to tell, they're going to know immediately. Anyone who's watching will know when you've lost sight of what was important for.
So Daenerys kind of forgot that Bolton had a spear.
Exactly what I was.
So yeah. So stuff like that, and in no way am I comparing what I do to what they do on fucking an HBO Game of Thrones show. But like, yeah,
I'm just saying,
when
like,
you
in
water
general.
it down, when you filter it down to the same, the core of it is I. And I felt that I thoroughly understood and spent enough time, especially because I'm the one who edits all the episodes. I felt like I had an extra bit of time with everything that no one else in
like to your
the
core
group.
You understood, like,
yeah, and I got to see firsthand what worked and what didn't. Like, when did we fail? When did we become too convoluted with ideas because we wanted to say yes to everybody, and when did it work out? Because my job in the post-production was to then fix those issues. And
drown your babies.
Drown your babies. So walking away from season 1, I think by episode 6, I had really decided that was the position I wanted to take on set and in the production room. Was just a filter, because I do like hearing everyone's ideas, and that's a big part of showrunning also, is making sure that you're communicating with everyone on your team effectively, everyone's being heard, everyone's being taken care of, but having that mutual respect of, if I say no to it, it's not a personal thing. I just know that it won't work in this context. Or even working together with someone to be like, I like that joke, it doesn't quite work here, what if we do this, blah blah blah. So that's a lot of delineating and PR comes with show running as well.
Robert Scorsese and De Niro have that back and forth, and De Niro will be like, can we do this? And Scorsese will be like, if it works. And then he'll do it, and it's like, doesn't work.
Yep.
And then so it's a very interesting way, and it's like I think there's a level of respect that needs to happen when it comes down to the performing creatives versus the more, I guess, visionary creatives who are just like, I'm much more trying to see like the grand scope of things versus kind of like what in the moment can we splice in and inject and add more to it. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I do want to say that to kind of combat your imposter syndrome, let's break it down. Let's talk about what the things you actually do and make you feel like you do a lot of shit other than just like this mumbo jumbo we're talking about it. Because a lot of people out in the world have an idea. A lot of people in the world have people who are like, I want to do something. But with a whole season of PAs, you have something. You made something, and it's created, and people can enjoy it themselves. So outside of the people and the idea, what do you think is the next, big thing, important thing to have done?
outside of the
writing of the idea,
Mhm.
writing it all down, and then having the people ready to go.
Oh, well, the biggest learning curve for me was the pre-production stuff. And that can range anywhere literally from location scouting to making sure we have a budget for something, or a big one for me was when we're writing, actively looking at places we could shoot this thing, and if it's not possible, then going back and trying to change that as well.
What does that mean? How do you look for a place that you're
So
actively
let's
shooting
say, for example, we want to shoot an episode where we're having these producers are having a party and the PAs want to crash that party. Is that a feasible thing? Like, okay, let's write like we have all the money in the world. Where do we write it? Well, a villa. Okay, well, let's start for fun. Let's look at Peer Space, which is a wonderful resource where people can look at spots to rent out for filming. Let's look at something like Peer Space and see, well, what would that cost for a day's filming? Okay, that doesn't work. Can we change the location to someone's house? Okay, let's start looking at houses. Do we know anyone who will let us shoot for free? And B, if not, how much is that going to cost? It's a lot of the stuff that creative folk don't like to hear or do, because it's a lot of no's.
The quote no.
It's the no. It's the no. Like, yeah, would I love to shoot a producer party at a villa that looks over LA? Fuck yeah, but for $1,200 an hour, I can't do that. So what do we have? So it's little things like that. Like pre-production has become actually one of my favorite things because it's so vital and so important to everything going correctly. And I used to not understand it and hate it. And again, Tom has I've learned a lot of this the minutia from Tom, the mise en scène. From Tom. Did I do it right though?
The minutia. It kind of strikes me as like a painter that's just getting their supplies together.
Yeah.
Like you're just like, you haven't painted yet.
I want to paint a mountain.
Well,
okay, well, we don't have brown, so...
you know what a chef does? Do a mise en place.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when they get all the stuff together.
Oh, yeah.
That's the same thing. You get all of it
You're putting your ingredients together and you're like, oh, okay, this is what I have.
Yeah, and so there's the pre-production, and then there's the on-set stuff that you have to handle, which is...
On-set.
Making sure we know what we're shooting, and it's a lot of the time was working actually with Tom on this, where he and I, or Kevin and myself, would sit down and decide. All right, we have 3 days at this location. What do we need to shoot, and what order are we shooting in? What time are we getting there? What time are we planning on wrapping? How much do we think these 5 pages are going to take to shoot? How many angles do we need with each? So like a lot of strange math. But I really enjoyed that kind of stuff.
Beautiful
so that when
minding.
When you show up on set...
More like Charlie Daying.
Yeah, if I show up on set, I have an idea. Like, the nice thing about show running is that I got to be a part of the writing process. I got to be a part of the pre-production, so that when I'm on set, I kind of can see everything from both sides of it. Like, what am I finding important? When do I need to let Mikey improvise? When do I need to not let him improvise because we're running out of time on something? It's a lot of show running is a lot of hats, which is interesting to me. It's one hat, but it really, if you were to lift up that show running hat, you're wearing like 6 or 7 other smaller hats. And like it's I don't know. It keeps it interesting for me. Maybe because I have ADHD, that like a showrunner position is.
You get to be
like,
dynamic.
I get to be dynamic. I get to do it. I'm working with the director. If we have a director on the shoot, get to work with the cameraman because when we wrote this is kind of the idea for it or whatever. One of my favorite moments of getting to do that was on PA's 10. We Tom actually and I had injected. As a placeholder, we had put in Stranger Things word for word because we needed Kevin and Mikey to have an argument. And the more we sat with it, I started changing the words to just meet ours. And so I got to work from the writing room to production to post on shot for shot recreating a scene of an argument between 2 characters from Stranger Things, but it was Mikey and Tom. And like that there is probably a great example of why I love show running, is we got to stick the landing, even if it made 12 people laugh because no one understood the reference. I know we fucking nailed it because I got to hold the hand for that bit through every piece of that process. So yeah, I don't know if that answered the question. That's pretty winded about like what else do I do?
I think the people are here to listen. So
and then going into post, I edit most everything We do, with the exception of a few sketches here and there. But when it comes to PAs, I've edited every single episode of those. And one of my heroes is Rob McElhenney, who is the showrunner and one of the creators for Always Sunny. And I remember watching a documentary, but as Storyboard was being birthed, I watched this documentary about Rob McElhenney and how he's like the first to show up on set. He pitched the show, he got it sold. He's the first to show up on set. He's producing it, and he also sits in on with all the editors. And I thought that was such a dream to me, was to create this show that I love creating so much that I want to be involved in every piece of it because I care and it makes me laugh and it makes me happy. And so I
not from a what is it, the over controlling sense, but just kind of like a,
well, you get to be part of it.
Yeah.
You get just to be like, oh, I get to see it. Like,
there's many times and ways and avenues that everyone just gets separated during the production of making something, and that the editing team probably never talks to the camera team, or or never talks to the editors.
Yeah.
But here you get to have all of it. You get to be like, okay, cool. I am like the connective tissue, the membrane that's like, holding it all together. And I think there is something very fulfilling for someone who, I think going back to your point of the being able to have an intimate understanding of the show comes from the creative side. It's coming from like, you have this concept and then you want to bring the humanity to it. And I think there's something to be said even just with the Shiva episode. And I think that takes a hard turn for a lot of people because they're expecting joke after joke after joke. And then there's an episode where it's like, well, okay, we're just going to have a human moment. There's going to be some comedy here, but it allows the characters to not be two-dimensional characters, but to be three-dimensional. I think there's something that comes into with having a strong sense of what your characters and what you want them to be, allowing them to grow in the visual space instead of off screen, right? So it's like, oh, they came back with the haircut and now they're a different person. It's like, no, we're going to show them like how this joke about Daniel Day-Lewis has evolved to now these are a group of family members who found each other on set.
Yeah, it's more interesting to me. I've talked about Scrubs 7 Days Till Sunday, but it's one of those shows that really taught me that like you can have your comedy cake and eat it too, because people want to see these people grow. I mean, there's plenty of shows, don't get me wrong, like Seinfeld, Friends, whatever. No one really changes week to week, but none of those have hit me personally quite as hard as something like Scrubs, where you can go from having absurdist humor about, Mikey hit his head and now he thinks he's being chased by birds, to in that same episode having a realization that we're this family and we love each other, and as much shit as we give each other, we're going to back each other up. And so it was important to me to kind of thread that. And that Sitting Shiv episode was another one where I learned a lot about the democracy of it all, and how it can be such a beautiful thing in like a writer's room, but on set there really needs to be someone to put their foot down and be like, we're not doing that. I need you to do this instead. Like, let's give it a try. But if it doesn't work, I'll let you know that didn't work. And so I think you've got a really good point to that.
Because you've mentioned kind of the writing process. What is harder? Is it breaking the story or actually producing the episodes, and why?
Oh, definitely.
Because there's kind of a creative and a
yeah. The breaking the story is easy.
Must be nice
to me.
A lot of people have struggle with that.
Yeah, well, when it comes to PAs, like it really, I think it just goes back to the intimate understanding of what I'm trying to accomplish with it, and that I hope that I can do with this group of folks. And it does help that having a writing room with a group of people, and the process to that is also different. And this is another reason I wanted to do showrunning, is like, we would have these meetings with everybody. We would have the whole group in there, Dana, Tom, Neil, Mikey, and Kevin. We'd all get in a room and we would write these outlines or first drafts of these episodes. And to be honest, like, again, the breaking of the story to us came pretty naturally. We're all a funny group of people. We would improvise until something would happen, and then we would run with it. And then what would happen is everyone would go home, and Tom and Kevin and I, or sometimes just Kevin and I, would either stay late or have another meeting where we would take that same script and then start trimming the fat off of it. And that's kind of where the idea of me wanting to showrun came from, is that I love the idea of everyone throwing their ideas in, but I also want to be okay with knowing I want everyone to have that trust in me that I know what I'm doing. And I know that there's a lot of fat here, and I love everyone's jokes, but we do need to also remember there's a story here, and finding that balance is really entertaining to me. And it's something that it's one of those things that I could work on and be like, oh shit, it's 4 a.m. I thought it was noon. And
Jesus,
it's,
what a time!
you know what I mean though? Like,
Well, it's because he woke up early. That's what it actually is.
Yeah. I actually slept in. So, but like that kind of stuff is something that's saved for someone like the showrunners. I got to be a part of the big group effort, and I also get to be a part of the intimate effort where we're, again, drowning our babies and chiseling away at this, to steal Carly's saying, like chiseling away at this piece of marble and to make it into something.
Just for the uninitiated, what does the phrase "breaking the story" mean?
It means like you have the idea and executing it, putting it on the paper, and making sure you have your start to finish. So it's figuring it out, figuring your story out, and putting it on some sort of document. To me, some sort of documentation, whether it's an outline,
Write
whether
it
it's a
down.
script. Yeah.
Because a lot of people might have like a concept, and I think a lot of people have a lot of cool ideas. But just for an example, for people to be like, oh, I don't know what that means. It's still a little very, ethereal in that sense. Mortal Kombat as a movie, what does that mean? You just take Game of Death from Bruce Lee, make it Mortal Kombat characters. You're done. That's the story.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally like make one character, those Mortal Kombat characters, into Bruce Lee's character, and then you just do the same tournament, and then it's the same thing.
Yeah.
What Laura Croft? How do I do it? Indiana Jones, but it's Laura Croft. Okay,
Yeah.
you're done. Like it's how you figure out like how does the story actually start playing out for that.
It's doing the math.
Yeah.
Going
It's,
into it, sometimes literal.
And it's, it's fun to play with these characters too. And like they're all named after us, but they're not us in a sense. And so getting to know these characters again through the writing and the editing and getting it to understand fundamentally how they react and how they do things. I enjoy everyone putting their personal input on their characters because they're the ones who have to portray them and everything like that. My job.
Corey's never dated Rachel McAdams
Yet.
Kevin's it doesn't do a 45
No,
rule.
but like getting to my only job in those situations is to just have the reins on it and make sure that Mikey's like, well, Mikey wants to go to the moon. I'd be like, okay, well, no, I mean he can want to go to the moon, but what would he do instead? Maybe he tries to build his own rocket, something like that. You know, what I mean, that's a terrible example, but
It's a perfect example.
That's part of the job is just like making sure that we're all on task, and it even comes down to trying to schedule meetings and being the in between of, hey, let's get this going, let's get the ball rolling on this.
I've said like running Nerd On, it's like herding kittens.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Thanks,
you're
man.
just like, even you guys were like, yeah. I mean, it's like you don't just have.
Gatos Chaga.
I mean, just to shine light on something, it's like you don't just have your schedule.
No.
You have your wife's schedule. You have all these different people that are living their lives, and you have to like, guys, I need an hour, 2 hours.
Well,
where
it's
we all
the
are
tough
there.
part about what is show running. It's literally everything that's not getting done by someone else. That's how my show running for Storyboard has been. It's like, oh, no one's doing this, I'll do it. Oh, no one's doing this. Okay, well, I'll do that. Or it's the, hey, this isn't getting done, I need you to do it kind of thing. Would you be willing to do that? So it's such a vague and ever shifting kind of position. There's your staple things, but then there's always going to be the, we booked this place on Peerspace, but the guy wants to have a meeting with us first. I'll go do that. That's the kind of stuff that show running comes with.
Imagine if, for everyone listening and hearing this, it all comes from like the independent standpoint where, if you have a show like Watchmen, you don't have, forget his name now, the guy who helped make Lost with J.J. Abrams, Damon Lindelof, he's not going to locations having to do that.
No.
He might get pictures from like the location manager, from the producer, or from the coordinator, but at a scale at which this is this web series is being produced and made, Corey does have to do a lot of those things, and it is taxing, and it's if for everyone listening who just isn't familiar with it, everything's a triangle, right? Time, quality, and speed. So
Yeah.
if you don't have the money, then it's going to be, and you want a good quality, it's going to take a long time.
Yeah,
If you,
it's become kind of a
everywhere.
cliche in a sense of like, but it's absolutely positively true where you look at everything in a triangle of like good, fast, cheap.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like what this is pick two. This all you can do. And it
Yeah.
applies to this, it applies to theater, it applies across the board.
Yeah.
Unless you're willing to fork off all the money and you have the best people working and you're Disney. So, I mean,
Yeah.
I have a question. So there has been some accolades that PAs has gotten,
Mhm.
some festivals that it's showed some of its episodes on.
Yeah.
What kind of process, what kind of I guess mental questions and deliberations do you go through to kind of say like, yeah, I think this is good enough to go and be sent out to the world?
Well, for me, that was especially episode 6 of season 1. It's the episode where I think we, as a show, kind of figured it out. Like we kind of clicked, something clicked. And it's a strange thing. Like really, it was something I was proud of, and I wanted to make sure not only that it got seen because I thought it deserved it for everyone who worked on it. With like we worked with Kevin Shirmizu and Jake and all our buddies and everyone from Apple who showed up to be extras on that late into the night. But I also wanted to make sure that the rest of the group had some sort of like validation for what they did. So like Mikey and Kevin and yourself and Dana and Neil, I wanted to get something that we could, not rest on our laurels, but like for a moment, just be like, cool,
Celebrate.
like we're not, because you can go a little crazy working on a project that you believe in so wholeheartedly, and no one's listening. Like I used to play Damon's Steakhouse, shout out. And I would play my fucking heart out for 3 hours, and no one would listen sometimes because it's a bar and people are just there to eat and drink and whatever. And you can go a little crazy without that sort of like, hey, that sounded good.
Yeah, external validation, I think I've said it.
Which
It has a time and a place.
It shouldn't be necessary, but like, and if I had never applied to these festivals, we'd still be doing PAs. But the honest truth is, like, I wanted to make sure that everyone else in the group knew that, like, we're not crazy, and this is something that's worth creating. And my values have changed a little bit since then as well. Like, my honest opinion is, like, if you aren't making it to make yourself laugh, you maybe, or at least with comedy, something like PAs, to make yourself laugh, you shouldn't be making it.
Wait, you're saying some of the dramas I have to do, I have to make?
Yeah, exactly. You gotta make yourself laugh. But like, you apply that formula to whatever it is.
It's the having fun conversation of like there is, if you're not doing it for yourself, if you're not doing it for,
then you're doing it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah,
is
and
my
so-
honest opinion. But at the time, I just started researching these like different festivals, and I had been given some advice for some people that like, you need to get it seen, you need to get it seen, you need to get it seen by some people. And so I pitched out a large sum of money from my own bank account and applied to, I think, like 15 or 16 of the bigger festivals.
They're not cheap.
And so we did get a few back, and Tom and I got to go to a few of those festivals. And one of the coolest things was like, out of that, we got to go on a trip, a handful of us, to go watch PAs in a movie theater at City Walk. And that, to me, while it might be, a dime a dozen for someone else, getting to see a project that I created intimately on a movie screen was a big deal to me.
Even just as a film fan, like just watching movies and how important they are. I've getting to see, there's a couple of shorts I've done, or even seeing Jeff Nimoy's Famish
Mhm.
on
Yeah.
a big screen. You're like,
It's pretty cool.
whoa.
Yeah.
I mean, it's also important to know, like this is what people don't talk about. Submitting to festivals is not cheap.
No.
It is not.
No.
Some are hundreds.
And that's before the
dollars.
insurance.
And like I at the time was still working at the day job, and so I had the funds to do it, and I figured let's do this thing. We only get a shot at this, it was really cool to go to the festivals and see our stuff on big screens, and of course get the laurels coming in was really exciting, I mean, but behind it was more so just I just want to make sure that everyone on this team knows that their work is appreciated.
Yeah. So for you, where does it happen? Like you switch a lot of hats, writing, producing, editing. Which one feels like the most like the most fulfilling of show running?
Honestly, that's a very good question. I my gut wants to say the writing and the editing, like the two opposite ends of the entire project, like where it gets birthed and where it finally gets laid to rest, which is a weird way to say it, but it is. It gets birthed the second time.
It gets sent to Rivendell.
Yeah, it gets its rebirth at the end. But to be honest with you, the honest answer, if I really dig deep, is the stuff on set. Being on set, especially with something like PAs, on-set diabetes. It means where you get it later in life.
Yeah.
But being shooting something and actively creating something with a group of your best friends, and it's the stuff y'all wrote to make each other laugh, and my part in it, I get to live in both worlds on our PA sets, where I get to participate in it. I barely act in it. I think I'm the weakest actor of the group, but I enjoy it. I get to
not
play.
what some of the people that I talk to say.
I get to play on that side of it, and then I get to, when I'm not on camera, I get to step behind and do the logistical stuff, which is checking in. We're making sure we got our time. Finding time to let people improvise, because it's a big part of our creative process, and finding ways to gently shut that down when we don't need it. But I get to live, with my foot on either side of the border between, in front and behind the camera. And I love it. I think I enjoy being on set the most as a showrunner.
It's when it's happening.
Yeah, it's exciting, right? It's
camp.
the anything's possible. And I do enjoy the editing. I really do. There's a lot of heartbreak in editing. That is kind of, when it's your own thing. Like when you're editing someone else's stuff, it's not so painful. But when you're editing this thing that you birthed in the writing room, you were there on set, you're in it, and it gets back to you, and you're finding.
Wait, a real-time event of seeing all the mistakes you've made?
Yeah, right. Exactly.
That's hard?
It's very difficult in that sense, but it's also very difficult. Like, there are times where I've had to cut someone's joke, and I feel bad about it. I do it because I understand what we need to tell in this story to an extent, but I don't like doing it because then I have to tell that person that I cut their joke. And so it's a mental game with myself, of bordering between being really excited that it's getting done, but also heartbreaking because I'm cutting the fat off things, which could be jokes, lines, moments, angles, whatever it may be.
Just because just what you're talking about, and I don't know, I can only liken this to things that I've done personally,
Sure.
But can those jokes that are cut be put into like a bucket that's like, let's just remember that?
We do
'Cause
that.
it might work later.
We've had jokes that have come back in later episodes that didn't work in specific ones.
Don't automatically write it off like, oh, that'll never work. It's just like,
in
just
fact,
right
in
now.
season 2, there's a good handful of jokes that hit the cutting room floor in season 1, for that exact reason. But it's still, especially when you're working with people who have improvised a joke, or it's brilliant. And the thing is, a lot of these times the joke works, but it's an extra 45 seconds we need to take off our 10-minute time. And when you're dealing with 10 minutes, 45 seconds is huge.
Yeah.
That's almost a tenth of the time you have. So it's stuff like that. It's finding those moments of like, what's important here? Is it the jokes per minute, or are we still trying to tell this story? And finding the in between
To kind of displace yourself and be an observer, and
It's
being
weird,
able to
yeah.
go to be like, okay, really funny. I like
Yeah.
it. But there's this puzzle that piece just doesn't have
Yeah.
a spot here.
It's this piece is from a different puzzle. I don't know how it got in this box,
Yeah.
but it got in this
It might
box
be a different
somehow.
episode. Weird.
And so yeah, so like it's the editing I love and I hate all at the same time, because when it's finally done, it's great, and when I'm starting to edit, it's addicting. Like when I'm uploading all of the footage and starting to do a rough cut, it is one of the. I mean, Tom's seen me do it. Like we'll shoot something that night, and I'll just stay up all night and see if I can get a rough cut of the whole thing done that night. Because I'm so.
It's a little compulsive.
Yeah, it's a little addicting. It's a little
I was gonna say,
hyper focus is
there's
a real
something
thing.
there's something addicting about, like, I'll just liken it to, again, like when I cut our trailer. Like when you have this idea and you already have it in your mind, it feels like wrong
Yeah,
to be like, no, I'll just do that later.
yeah.
Like, no, I need to
Respect the flow.
there's been some graphic ideas for our graphics for
Yeah.
Mario where I'm like, it would be a crime.
I have to do this now.
I have to do this
Yeah.
now, because if I don't, it'll be gone.
Yeah.
And I'll never have that idea.
It's respect. It's with writing. Respect the flow. Like when it hits you, it hits you.
Which is so jarringly different from me in directing, because every single time it's been like, Tom, you do not get to sleep from the moment you have the idea until the day you say that's a wrap. And then once it's wrapped, then it's like, now let out every single bit of stress you've ever had.
Mhm.
Yeah, you could. It's like it's Tony Stark after the snap. It's like you can sleep now. You can
Yeah.
rest. And I've had those with 48-hour film festivals, but with you, Corey, it's just so wild to see if, like, you get to have all of those growing pains of developing the story and then being there on set, and then there is that. I think to me that's an X factor for you, of that you just have that level of where you just want to go home and then have something to look at instead of this collection of things. Whereas for me, I'm like, I get to set it and forget it. Someone else who is better at editing than me will take care of that shit, and I get to come back the next day and be like, it looks good, but we got to change it, baby.
Yeah.
And then that's it.
I mean, I would love to have an editor for Storyboard that I could but I would still sit there the whole time and want to input.
But the thing is, would you want them to edit right away?
yeah.
Because for me, I'm like, I'll see you in a week. Bye.
I mean, like, here's the thing. I can't ask anyone to start editing. Whatever they were editing, they're editing.
I
But
mean,
like,
when you get to that point, you're gonna have to
let
you're
it
gonna
go.
have to do.
I
it.
mean, once, to the point, when PA starts getting like a budget and people start coming in, we have multiple like different talented technical and creative people there. It's a matter of getting dailies.
Yeah.
It's a matter of like, okay, cool. We see how that scene looks like. We see how that
Yeah.
scene looks like. We see how that scene looks like. And then people get to pass up notes to Corey being like, well, we have other takes from these shots that if you want, you can see them that are good takes.
I haven't come to terms yet for when we have a sound engineer, a sound editor,
Gotta
mixer
let it go.
for Nerd On. I'm gonna have to be like,
Yeah, I'm gonna have to schedule meetings with our editor to go see what they did, which will be weird. But I for now, it's just me in my little office editing away and losing track of time, and I love it.
It's bigger than my office.
It's a little romantic. It's the in between. It's the suddenly now I've got to color correct and all that stuff is draining for me. I would gladly give it to someone who wants to color correct everything.
I don't know why I'm thinking of Sacco from Bo Burnham's Inside. Oh, it's a little bit of a state of an existential crisis.
It is.
and-
It really is. Like the editing part of it, but like I don't know. There's other perks that come along with show running. Like we did a pitch, which was a blast. We got a pitch meeting, which was really fun. And Tom sent me his pitch packets to give me an idea of what I needed to build. We got a lot of input from great people, but that was something that I got to handle as well. I was building all the pitch packets, writing out the log lines, writing out the outlines, compiling all of the different scripts and stuff like that. Probably something an unpaid intern should do. No, I'm just kidding.
it's the real minutia of it. Like
my
it is the
mesos.
the log lines, the stuff that people forget, like just like that go into like when we talk about Nerd On of like,
Yeah.
well, we have show notes, we have edit notes, we have all these little things that have to take place. It's the boring stuff, and then it gets to go on Apple Podcasts.
Yeah, but it's
and
exciting
YouTube.
because
It
it's
is.
leading
It's like,
somewhere.
ooh, this is fun.
Yeah, and
We're-
like nothing
we're
came
doing
of
the
that
thing.
pitch, but I had a blast. Like I had a blast putting it all together. It was
Yeah.
another one of those nights I stayed up all night, even though the meeting was like 2 days away, just to see how I was having so much fun creating the pitch packets. So
I had to shave that day.
yeah, you did.
I shaved my weak mustache and beard for that meeting. So
looked good, too. You looked real good.
Thanks. Wait, as in the shaved face or the,
The
not?
shaved face looks
Okay,
good,
thanks.
man. It's a good look on you. You're a handsome boy. Don't hide that shit.
So I think there's a lot you can learn for show running from acting, directing, and even writing. But what are some of the things that you found that those things didn't help you out? Like you had to rely on other skills and skills that other people can start looking forward
Yeah.
to.
I mean, the first one that comes to mind is budgeting and pre-production. Like those were things that acting and editing had never helped me with, because as either the actor or the editor, pre-production was never a part of the thing I was involved with. I always got the footage afterwards and was like, I want these takes or whatever. Acting, I was sent the script, show up on this day. But like with hanging out with Tom and building not only budgets per episode, but also building our call sheets and stuff like that, and managing all of our extras we had on, especially on PA6, but also PA's 10, making sure we had times when people were showing up and leaving. It's the logistical stuff, like the creative side of things will never prepare you for. And
It's the planning part that's really important that you forget is important. Like you it's a minutia.
yeah,
It's just really like you're like, we need to at least have an idea.
yeah, well, because I mean, here's the thing. PAs, I've said this a million times on different things we've done, but PAs started out as one sketch. And then people liked it and asked us for a second sketch. And then people liked that and asked us for a third one. And by the fourth one, we're like, well, this is now a series. So it kind of evolved out of something strange. So it was these like learning bits and pieces as we go. So transitioning from episode 3 to suddenly, where we were guerrilla shooting in Griffith Park. No, we didn't.
Nothing?
To renting trucks for a certain amount of time and needing to be pretty precise so that we could return the truck by our rental time. And so pre-production, I think, is the thing that surprised me the most and took the most amount of time to learn, but I don't think I would ever go into another shoot without it.
What do you think any of those skills, or a skill that other people who are aspiring to probably start show running their own web series or their own things like that, what do you think was probably the most helpful that they could learn?
The most helpful that you can learn if you are an aspiring showrunner is to, I mean, honestly, try it yourself. Like create something small, even if it's just you, because then you're your own showrunner, you're your own whatever, or get a friend to do it. And I mean, a big thing for me was, this is going to sound so simple, but is the showrunner documentary. I think it's just called Showrunner. Yeah. And getting to see a glimpse of like, you're going to be the first one to show up and one of the last people to leave. And just know that, like, find something you're passionate about if you can. Like for me, I feel really grateful that I'm show running PAs because it's something that I helped create and birth and can understand fundamentally. And if you're interested in show running, spend as much time with whatever it is. If it's a script for, a 5-episode miniseries, read them back to front every which way you can, so that you're prepared to answer any question that comes your way, because you're going to be the person who people come with questions to and need answered either in the moment or pretty quickly. If they're not asking the director, they're asking you. That wasn't a real good answer.
No,
for people who are aspiring, but like it's do it. It's try all the things. Learn everything you can about every position that you can get your hands on.
That was going to be my next part. Is like we have theater training, and
yeah.
I think we have a lot of the same background where it was important to our programs that we understand the other bits.
Yeah.
Set design, costume design, lighting, blah blah blah. Like you think there is value in at least knowing a little bit about what everybody is doing, just to kind of like even just appreciate and understand.
100%. That's exactly what it is. I mean, that's what it spawned from too, is like our first PA's shoot. I was working with Tom to set up camera angles. I was also holding the boom on my other side of things, or, I'm learning how to run sound or whatever it was. It's just an amalgamation of like, have an understanding of every role that you're going to be using on your set, so that you can speak to those people about what they need to talk to you about, help them out any way you can, and make sure there's a clear communication between every single department that you're using. I mean, the nice thing again about PAs is that we're our own departments, but we have an understanding that when we're running boom, we're running boom. We're not doing all these other. We're not going to put input directing. We're going to focus on the sound. So
you're not wearing I mean, sometimes you probably are, but wearing
Learn-
two hats at once.
Yeah.
But you should be like, that hat's going to be a lot more comfortable if you're not wearing this hat too.
Yeah, and just play. Like that's the best way to learn these things. Is like I'm just now understanding to a more fundamental level lighting on sets that I always left to someone else. But I want to be able to discuss those things and be articulate when I do that on set. And so I've just set up a camera, started playing during our live streams, or started playing on shorts, or shooting certain stupid things that are never going to get released. But I'm learning, and that's all that I'll learn. That's my advice. Learn.
Learn.
I almost want to go through and like do like I don't know if you have a top 5, but like do like a kind of the top 5 worst things you've experienced in show running,
Oh.
and kind of like how you can help people kind of like, avoid these things. You talked about the decentralization of ideas, and it's like, hey, like this is how you kind of can avoid those things while also maintain like a good environment.
I mean, if let's for instance, because my situation was that I fundamentally understood what we were creating. So let's say you're running that 5-episode miniseries, and you've read the scripts that you could recite them, right? You understand these characters to a degree that maybe only the other writer will. In those moments, it's important, and I'm still learning how to do this, but with PAs, I feel more confident in it. Is know your worth in that room, and know that if your gut is telling you yes or no, to trust it and express that with people. So, what we did from 6 on, especially, was establish. I mean, we called the meeting and it was like, this is what it's going to be. I still want everyone to write together, but it's going to come down to me saying yes or no to things, and we have to be okay with that. Otherwise, we're going to get what happened on A, B, and C. So establishing that with your group as well. Again, communication is huge, especially when you're show running and jumping from different conversations, doing different things. Communication is going to save your ass. But yeah, trusting that you've done your work, that you're in that position for a reason. You want to do this for a reason, and making sure, especially with things like you said, like the cacophony of ideas is going to happen in a writer's room, but being okay with filtering things out and trusting your gut, and don't have imposter syndrome like I do. Knowing what's best.
Nice.
That's
well, I mean,
My other little addition on that,
Yes,
'cause
please.
I just said it. Sometimes what's best is someone else's idea, and that's okay too.
Sometimes Mikey ruins a line because he made it better with an improv.
All the time. We'll sit, like I said, we'll do the writer meeting. Kevin and I will do a writer's meeting. Tom and I will do a third pass on a script, and Mikey will come in and improvise a line that blew anything we wrote out of the water, and we go, well, that's going in there. That's fine.
first of all, fuck you.
Yeah.
Second of all, thank you.
Brilliant. So, yeah.
I mean, I feel like we would need to end this with like, where can people watch Storyboard?
YouTube or wearestoryboard.com is the easiest way to find anything there. If you check anything out, PAs would be my number one with a bullet. Check that out. I think it's our most polished work.
I think you can probably watch it in silence and then listen to this at the same time, and then you can kind of be like, oh, this is where it all comes from.
What I would love to do if we do another one of these, because Kevin and I actually set up a meeting Tuesday to start going over PA Season 2 scripts. Would love to hop on another one of these Nerds Explain and do like a play-by-play of what happened with maybe an episode in Season 2.
Maybe it's like it's a side video.
Sure.
On the YouTubes, where it's kind of like a part 2.
Yeah.
And this is
It's like
what
a
is
live
actually
commentary.
happening.
Because it's such a weird position that I feel like there's so much we covered, but there's also so much we didn't.
I feel like
about
we could do
show
that with
running.
every one of
Yeah,
these Nerds
yeah.
Explain. Like, okay,
Yeah.
here's what the post-production audio process looks like.
And like they all have. I mean, showrunning's such a vague, like the type of stuff I've had to do, which is like, again, is get on the phone with a billboard company and see if we can get our ad run for a certain amount of time, or getting on the phone with certain places that we've booked out and asking them if we can just steal a few more hours, or if we can, hey, can we ask these people to turn their speakers off for a few hours? You're the go-between between everything. At least on a again, independent scale. I'm sure that would be more of a AD job or something like that. But as the showrunner of PAs, that's my job.
Yeah. Well, everybody at home, thank you so much for listening. If you have more questions for Corey or really any of the people that we have had, including myself and Tom on these Nerds Explained, please feel free to reach out to us on social media. The best place, I think my favorite place, is the Discord. There is a Discord for everything, including if you're a member of the Nerd On Nation, you get private channels that you can go directly to us or other members of the Nerd On Nation.
What?
I know, it's cray.
I'm out.
50 Shades of Cray. It's incredible. So
Crayfish.
Crayfish. Crayfish boil. So yeah, check
Cray
that
Mysterio.
out. And joining the Nerd On Nation, it really does.
Craig
I mean,
Robinson.
we talk about. Oh my god, we talk about like making this and making what we do, and a large part of that is having the Nerd On Nation.
Daniel Craig Lewis.
Everybody loves Crayman. Crayman Legends.
How about you?
I'm done now. Thank you.
You want to end the episode? It's gonna come up with another one.
Crazy Rich Asians.
Oh, well, if you liked what you heard today or watched today, stop by, rate and review us. We are everywhere podcasts can be heard, and many of those places offer an ability to rate and review us. And a lot of those places have a share button.
Smash that share button.
Oh, shit!
Yeah, share it with your friends, your family.
And if you didn't like it,
share us with your enemies. Like the ultimate payback.
yeah.
Yeah, I hate you. But
Listen
I love
to Nerd
this. Listen to Nerd On.
Or if you're a Karen, play it while you're having your next breakdown at the Walmart.
Yes! I want a video of that.
That's us. That terrible person's listening to us.
So check it out. If you're new to Nerd On, the best place to remember all of this that I'm spewing out to the airwaves, nerdon.tv. It has everything, all the links, all of our episodes. There are over 400 episodes, and that's not even counting our sister show.
My back.
That's not even counting the Cables Crusaders, who has hundreds of episodes too. So there's like hundreds.
How about this? For every 100, you throw a quarter our way. We have 400, 4 quarters, baby.
Join that Nerd On Nation. Boom. Mic drop.
Math.
Boom. All right. Anyway, that's
Get
the
us outta
episode.
here.
Thank you so much for listening. We appreciate you. You know the drill. As always,
Nerd
Nerd
on.
Ending broadcast.